mistake. I did not have any cash on me what hydro. I had it on the back of my phone and I had my wallet, but I did not want me to snort this to rail this. And the only thing I could see that could potentially work is a roll of paper towels. Now, I could have used toilet paper, however, toilet paper is too flimsy. You can't really roll a straw out of toilet paper. It's going to collapse on itself the moment you inhale. However, that's exactly what I did. I twist up this straw, I crush up the hydro on my own, and I do my best to get it the least chunky as possible. Now, honestly, snorting pills is always a terrible experience, but hydros were always one of my least favorites to snort because they just coat your fucking nose so badly. I think the only pill that is worse to snort, in my opinion, is probably Xanax, because that shit is just unbearable. I mean, the way it cakes your nose is awful, but hydros kind of have a similar effect, where they almost cake your nose at first when you rail them. So I'm crushing this thing up, I'm getting it nice and powdery on the back of my phone, and after that I twist up my little paper towel straw. Now, one thing I didn't really consider before taking this line was the fact that the paper towel is textured. It has a lot of different ridges in it, right? It's a little pattern on there, like all the paper towels, the name brand shit are. So when I go to take this line, I inhale as hard as I can. It's a fat line. I took this half and just made it all into one line, so it was pretty big. It was a thinner line, but I made it very long. It went pretty much the whole entire width of my phone. So I lean down and I rail my line, and I realized pretty much immediately that I was not getting everything. In fact, I barely even felt anything going into my nose. Now, when I looked down at my phone, there was still a little bit left on there, but it was clear that a lot of it had been sucked up. So me being the innovator I am, I knew that it had to be in the paper towel still. I unwrap my paper towel and I look inside, and lo and behold, there is a bunch of powder all over the paper towel. So what did I do?
Here you go,
well,
Mum.
me being the genius I am, I just fucking ate it.
Do you still have
I
that
don't
water?
mean I licked it. I mean, I literally ate it. I just put it in my mouth and shoot it. Now, this was an absolutely brutal experience, because after 2 bites of this paper towel hydro sandwich, I knew immediately that this was not going to go easy. But not without a fight. I kind of choked on it a little bit. But after forcing it down with some more water out of the sink, I was good to go. I left out of the bathroom, and, you know, I feel like it was kind of a placebo effect thing. I wasn't really feeling high, but even just from getting that line up my nose a little bit, I felt a nice little hype going, a little buzz. I don't necessarily get that now that I'm older, but when I was younger, I remember snorting a line of anything would just make me feel like I was on top of the world. It felt cool. I don't really know how to explain it. So I come back out of the bathroom and I sit down in the living room for a little bit, and my cousin is over in the corner in one of the recliners. Now, most of my family had gotten up and moved over to the kitchen at this point because they were starting to make dinner. So it was just me and my cousin and my degenerate uncle chilling in the living room. Now, I'm chatting with my cousin a little bit, and my uncle, my degen uncle, luckily is very hard of hearing. It's something that runs on my dad's side of the family. They're all deaf as fuck, so you can kind of talk about anything at the family gathering, because typically the TV is so unbearably loud that they will never hear you over it. I shit you not, they would watch NASCAR races at maximum volume, like not 90, not 80, 100 maximum volume, because my grandpa was so deaf, even with his hearing aids in. Imagine just, the NASCAR races don't even have good audio. You're just hearing car engines and cars whizzing by on max volume for like 4 hours. Absolutely mind-numbing stuff, but it gave us the opportunity to pretty much say whatever we wanted. So I'm not even whispering, I'm just saying to him, I'm like, yo, how you feeling, bro? And he's like, I don't really feel much yet. You know, I feel pretty okay, but I'm stoned as fuck for sure. So I'm like, you know, maybe we should up the ante and go smoke again later. And he's like, oh, I'm good for now. I want to wait for that hydro to hit me. So I sit and watch my full volume television for maybe 5 or 10 more minutes before I decide that I can't tolerate this and I need more hydros. So I get up and I go to the bathroom, and I'm not snorting the other ones. I brought 3 of these fuckers in total. We'd already gotten one down the hatch, half to my cousin, half to me, so I popped the other 2. I didn't go one at a time, I just popped the other 2. I was like, fuck it. Now, popping 2 more normally would be a pretty normal amount, but you have to remember that I didn't do a lot of opiates, and also these were the 10s. So these weren't the little 5s, or I think they make 7 5s, I think. I don't know. I'm not a big opiate guy. Someone quote me on that. But these were the 10s. So these were the good ones, right? These were the nice ones. I pop these extra 2 down the hatch, and I go back out to the living room, and I'm posted up. Now, at this point, dinner's pretty close to ready. They announce it. They're like, yo, dinner's coming up. So we all go over to the dinner table, and they start serving food. Now, listen. After my grandmother on this side of the family died, the food quality went down exponentially. I mean, we went from eating some pretty good, authentic food. My grandma was very British. She was born in the UK, so, some authentic British food, down to, we would genuinely eat canned ham. My grandpa thought canned ham was a really fitting family meal. Absolutely brutal stuff. So on this particular day, they had whipped up some bullshit. I don't really remember what they made, honestly. I didn't eat much of it. That's all I remember. But typically it was either the canned ham, a beef stew, or we would order out. So, I mean, take a pick out of one of those 3. Well, we didn't order out. So take a pick out of either the canned ham or beef stew. I don't fucking remember. But either way, we sit at the table, we all gather around, and I can tell just by looking over at my cousin that this shit is hitting him. Now, we are sitting at polar opposite ends of the table. We are across from each other, but I'm kind of next to my grandpa, and he's on the opposite side next to the other head of the table, right? There was 6 or 7 of us chilling at the table, so kind of crowded. But I keep looking over at him, and he just looks blasted out of his mind. You can see it in his eyes. His eyes are so low. He looks cashed. His movements are slow. My aunt handed him his drink to leave on the table, and he spilled it all fucking over himself. I mean, this man was lagging right now, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm looking over, and I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. This guy is completely cashed, dude. Half a hydro and 1 blunt later, this guy's down for the count. I'm the sole survivor right now. So I'm sitting at the table, and, luckily, my family didn't have shit to say to each other at the table, okay? They were not friendly people. We didn't want to conversate, all right? We're just there for the politics. We're just there to say we were there, to be like, look, we did our commitment, we had our family gathering like normal people. So that's what we did. We sat there. We didn't really say much, which was a blessing, dude. If we had a long, drawn-out conversation at this table, it would have been absolutely over with. Now, about halfway through the dinner, my cousin asks if he can go to the bathroom, and they're like, oh, sure. Now, I can tell that he's not doing so hot. He gets up and goes to the bathroom, and he's chilling in there for a while. I kind of forget about it. I'm just focused on getting through dinner so I can go and maybe smoke this second blunt. Now, after a while, my aunt gets up to go check on him because this guy has been gone for a solid 15 or 20 minutes at this point. She gets up and is also gone for maybe another 3 to 4 minutes, and finally she comes back out of the bathroom with him. Now, she's pretty much escorting him at this point. This dude is cashed. He is sweaty, and she's like, oh, I think he's sick or something. And my cousin just looks at me, and I have this smirk on my face. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm really not feeling good. I'm sorry, guys. I think I have a cold or something. I think I have a stomach bug. He is playing the part. I have to admit, even though he threw up and couldn't hang whatsoever, he was playing his damn part right now, holding it together, giving a good excuse, saying, oh, I just have a stomach bug. And of course they believe it. So my aunt gets up and goes to take him home. Now, one weird thing about my family that I think I've talked about briefly in older videos, but I'll mention it again, is my aunt and uncle lived quite literally next door to my grandpa. I don't know why they decided to do this, but they are literally neighbors. One house over, same side of the street, same street, and everything. And they have lived in those 2 houses for their entire lives. Me personally, I think I would rather kill myself than be next door neighbors with my father, but to each their own, and that's what they chose to do. So by taking him home, I didn't mean she had to get in the car and drive him home. She literally walked his ass over out of the gate and over to their house, and then came back over without him. So I bust out my phone and I start texting my cousin. I'm like, yo, what the fuck happened? He's like, dude, I don't want to do that shit ever again, bro. I feel fucked right now. My stomach is fucked up. And I'm like, well, do you feel better after you puked? And he was like, yeah, I feel pretty good after I puked. And I asked him, I was like, well, how does it feel, Do you feel good? And he's like, no, I just feel like I'm too stoned, honestly, which I guess he didn't take very much. He took half of a 10, which equates to about 5, so maybe mixed in with the weed, that was just a little too much for him. But now at this point, the hydros I took are starting to hit me. My dad made a comment to me, he was like, oh, is it too hot in here? And I didn't realize, I was like, no, why? And he's like, oh, you're sweating. I didn't realize that I was sitting at this table sweating fucking bullets right now. Absolutely cashed. For some reason, whenever I'm on the opiates, I just profusely sweat. I cannot stop. And this was an instance of that, where I was just sweating balls, even though I wasn't really warm, you know? I was just kind of sweating. It was kind of a cold sweat in a way. But either way, I'm sweating bullets, so I get up and excuse myself to the bathroom. I look at myself in the mirror and I am disgusted. I mean, I look like I just got done running a 5K. I looked absolutely ransacked. So I'm wiping myself off. I'm trying to clean myself up, you know, get the sweat off of myself. And, you don't really realize how fucked up you are until you stand up. I say that a lot, but it's really true. Because when I stood up, it felt like I was being pulled back to the ground. I had a hard time with my coordination at this point. It almost felt like I had to individually think about each step I was taking and which direction I was going to make it to the bathroom, because I had just completely lost my coordination at this point. But my fucking God, did I feel fantastic. It's really hard to describe the feeling that hydros give you, or really the feeling that any opiates give you, because they're all fairly similar. They have differences, but, you know, the core kind of cloud feeling that opiates give you, they're all very similar, right? But I just had that total bliss, that not a care in the world utopia feeling. I was on cloud 9 at this point. Despite myself sweating bullets, despite my cousin getting tapped out, getting cashed out, thrown to the side, I was still in this bitch and I was feeling great. So I clean myself up in the bathroom and I go back to the dining table, and at this point everyone's done with their dinner. I got up and I excused myself down to the basement, which
16,000 kilometres, 16 test drivers, 1 Ford Ranger. We're pushing the Ranger to its limits by taking...
Excuse myself down to the basement, which wasn't a super unusual thing for me to do because my grandpa had a dartboard in the basement that I like to fuck around on a lot. What he also had in the basement was his alcohol fridge, which I was headed directly for like a vulture. I busted open that fridge and I'm looking in there, and I'm telling you guys right now, the alcohol selection was grim. It was not good. The one saving grace is my grandfather loved a good shot of Jack Daniels, so he was loaded the fuck up. I mean, there was like 6 bottles of Jack in this dude's fridge, and luckily a couple of them were already open. I don't know why he opened more than one, but more power to him. He's senile. So I grab one of the open bottles and I just take a swig out of that bitch. Now, back in the day, I could handle Jack straight, no problem. Nowadays, I would probably vomit immediately if I took a straight swig of Jack out of the bottle. But back then, no problem. I'm off the hydros, I'm off the za, my cousin's incapacitated, and I'm sipping Jack. It's a wonderful family gathering. So I'm taking my swigs, I'm getting ready to rumble. And, you know, the opiates and the alcohol are never a smart thing to mix. They're not a safe thing to mix either. But at this point in my life, I didn't give a shit about smarts or safety, so I'm going apeshit. I'm taking some good swigs out of this bottle just to get myself a little buzz going. And I go back upstairs and sit back down in the living room. Now everyone's kind of cleaning up, and you can tell that this gathering is definitely coming to an end, which was a very good thing because I started getting the spins aggressively. I mean, almost immediately after I sat down. It just felt like nothing around me would really stop moving. I didn't drink that much liquor, but the effect of the opiates definitely amplified the liquor, so I was off my fucking rocker. Luckily, I suggested to my dad that we go home fairly soon, and he was extremely down. He was like, yeah, let's fucking go. And we dipped out nearly immediately, maybe within 5 minutes of me bringing that up. I got back to the car, and it was coast clear. I felt like I just cleared a Splinter Cell mission. I went in, snuck past all the ops, stole Grandpa's Jack, and gave my cousin hydros. What a successful evening, if you ask me. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you did. Thank you guys for tuning in today. And also, make sure you guys follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with the very, very soon upcoming Grindr drop. Thank you guys for watching. We're coming in with a very, very exciting video. In today's video, we're trying out the most ridiculous edibles that I could find on the internet. Now, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And also, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the new camera setup. We've got higher camera quality. I know the background's a little plain right now, but that will change as time goes on. But in general, there should be a lot more cool, higher quality content.
Come on down.
Cool. Let's go in. Oh, see what I mean? Well, here we are. Let's go. Where's the room? Okay, here's the room. Cool. Let's do this.
Done.